answer any questions. 20th, 2022 City Council meeting. I call this meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Phelan. Here. Parker.
Present.
Dalby.
Here.
Schroeder. Present. Beach. Here. Richardson.
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
Present. Okay, moving on. We have an oath of office for a firefighter paramedic, Sean. I hope I don't say this wrong. Is it Lundy? Lundy. Perfect. All right, if you would come forward. Raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I, Sean Lundy,
I, Sean Lundy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and partially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of paramedic firefighter of the City of Indianola.
discharge
I get it. Yeah, I went too much there. Discharge all the duties
all the duties
of a paramedic firefighter
of a paramedic firefighter
of the City of Indianola, Iowa,
of the City of Indianola, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now and here after
Required by law.
required by law.
We should let you stand it first. All right, well, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Aaron, you want to come up? Oh, come on, Aaron. Just a shot. Oh, you need a second one. Well, welcome aboard, Sean. We are excited to have you, and go home and get some sleep now. If there's anyone else in the crowd and you would like to speak, you can come forward afterwards, state your name and address.
Good evening, Brenda Easter with the Indianola Chamber of Commerce, 111 North Buxton, right here in Indianola. Tonight, I'm here to present to you information about Explore Indianola, a little update, if you will, as to the progress that we've made so far, and a little bit about what we're planning in the next month or so. So first, I'd like to start with, if I can get our little thing to go, with our branding. As you can see, tonight I'm presenting to you a logo and brand information. I've given you each a copy. It's also on the screen behind me. As you can see from the logo, we're leaning into our ballooning heritage, which is what Indianola is most known for. But what's really nice about this logo is that we can also customize it and make it unique to some of our other major events as well. So for example, Warren County Fair. We could customize remove the balloon emblem and put a Ferris wheel. Or we could, for Des Moines Metro Opera, put a mask or something else. So it gives us a little wiggle room as far as how we can use the logo. And then we decided to use Launch Your Adventure because we're also inviting them to come to Indianola and explore. But Launch kind of also leans into the balloons and some of the other things that they can do here in Indianola. So we thought that made sense. From a brand perspective, I don't know if you can tell it real well, but that's a deep purple, not black. And then we have a gold and more of a softer purple that will be used in the branding. And then here's just some examples of how we could use that brand on t-shirts, on hats, other memorabilia that we'd like to have for our town. It would also be used on any collateral or brochures that we create to keep our look and feel consistent as we move forward. And we will also be using that on our website. Gradient 9 is developing the wireframe and or the template, if you will. And soon we'll have a test site that will be available. And when that is available, we'd like to schedule a time where we could do a formal presentation to the council and share a little bit more about that. Also probably share a link if anybody'd like to test it out for us. So that's the update that we have on Explore Indianola. It's moving along quite nicely. We have met with a lot of different people, stakeholders. Everyone is very excited about it. It is our busiest season, with many of our stakeholders having really big events coming up here in July. So we have kind of put we've moved a slower path on getting some of our content built because they really, really, truly wanted to be engaged and part of that creation. So it's moving. Maybe not having it done by July, but we really didn't believe we could in the first place. So it'll be done as fast as we possibly can, but I think it's going to be worth the wait because we're going to have stakeholders that are engaged and who can truly provide some great content for us. So that's the update. Thank you so much for your time tonight. And you know how to reach me if you've got questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Brenda, this weekend I attended the USATF track meet in Ames, and they have a similar concept because everybody volunteered. They had shirts, they had a car out front with a logo on it.
Yep.
I forget what is it, Discover Ames or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But all the volunteers had those shirts on. They had tents and canopies, and so we kind of got a chance to talk with them a little
Yeah,
bit. And it sounds like that's been paying off really well for them.
Yep. And that's what we hope to do right here in Indianola.
So exciting. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank
you. All right, Brandy, you're up.
I'm Brandy Warner. My address is 811 North 12th Street here in Indianola. I'm also the owner of Willow Moon Apothecary located at 208 West Ashland, Suite 100. I am also the president chair of the Indianola Downtown Merchants Association, but I am not here on their behalf tonight. Here I'm just speaking for myself. I'd like to address the loitering issues from homeless in the area. Specifically focused on loitering in and around the square and the effects it has on the safety of our community and the successfulness of our small businesses. I would like to start by saying that I'm no stranger to this, nor do I lack empathy for the situation that they find themselves in. The subject is close to my heart. My dad was a meth addict and alcoholic and was homeless in my 20s. So I do get it. It's unfortunate, but it's becoming an epidemic here in our town. And it's very close to my heart, affecting my business. And I know it's affecting other people's as well as residents. And I feel like we need to do something. And I'm here to ask the city council if we can look at doing some sort of ordinance. I don't know what we can do to get in place to give the police department something to go on, because right now their hands are tied. Anytime we ask for their help, there's anything they can do unless they're soliciting. I have people come into my shop to talk about squatters, and they're unable to even get them out of their own property, personal property. And that's a safety issue here. Like the safety issue I see very specifically firsthand is needles in the parking lot outside my business. We have children whose safety is at large there. And then as a business owner, I'm having to go out and pick up needles and put them in the dumpster. I don't feel like that's my job. In addition to that, you know, a lot of this is a chosen lifestyle, unfortunately. You know, I talked to Lori Abernathy, the director at Heel House today, and she agreed. When they stay at Heel House, they have responsibilities. They have to be clean and sober, and they have to be willing to hold a job and clean their room. And a lot of them, they just don't want to. So it's unfortunate that we're all having to pay the price because they don't want to contribute to society. And I have a picture here I'd like to pass around. It's two sides. This is just within the last 24 hours in front of my business. And it's anytime I've, asked them if they can please move on, then they get aggressive. I have had a lady in my shop twice who's ran customers off. Sorry, I'm nervous. My voice is shaking. And she's come in with intimidation tactics. So then that puts me in a business owner standpoint is A, I'm losing business. So that affects my family directly. And B is, of course, you get in a position of where your safety is concerned. So I stand in front of you as a mother and a concerned citizen and a business owner to see if we can get some sort of something here to help our community, because there's a reason we don't live in Des Moines. We live here because we feel safe here, and I'd like to continue to do so. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Randy, I'll follow up with you tomorrow. I'll talk to the police chief and city manager. Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Wes Sharp. I live at 1003 Kensington Court. I'm here today. I live right around the corner from Mayor Arts, and I live on a little tiny cul-de-sac. Been there for 7 years. And just a little back history. I've lived in Indianola for 33 years. The only time I didn't was when I was in college and a city planner in Ottumwa. Out of those 33, out of my lifetime, I've lived or owned a property for 31 years on a cul-de-sac. Grew up on a cul-de-sac, owned a rental property on a cul-de-sac. Now I'm back there at my current residence for 7 years. So those are just, a lot of them are Google Earth shots. The first one just kind of an oversight of our neighborhood. There's 7 cul-de-sacs in our neighborhood. My street's on the second page, and I'll kind of break it down what I drew there. I'm showing the fire hydrant, which is right in front of my house. And then there's one lone no parking sign. And then you can see the 2 vehicles that are parked there on Google Earth. My neighbor and myself are parked there the entire time we lived there. My neighbor has 4 adult children. 3 of them are driving and living at home right now. So they are critical on parking spaces there. The yellow line there, I put that there because that's right behind Comer's driveway. And they actually had an incident where one of their daughters backed out into another car because it's right down the curve. So it's kind of a hazardous spot there, but it's still a parking spot, and it's a legal parking spot. And then with Kentucky opening up soon, that's just going to create more of a parking and traffic hazard in our neighborhood. Just because that's just going to open up the flow of traffic in the area, which we're not quite used to yet. So the next page I just kind of show that Norwood Street's the street I grew up on. I lived there till I was 16 years old. That's a different cul-de-sac because it's actually has a center with grass and a light pole, and you could park all the way around that cul-de-sac there. You can see it on the cul-de-sac to the south there, which is Madison. The next street's West First Avenue. I own the duplex at 1107, 1105 West First Avenue. I lived there for 3 years. And again, you can park at the end of that cul-de-sac. And there was always parking issues on that street because of the high residency on that street. Since it's all duplexes down that dead end. And then let's see. So the next one, just kind of an overview of the neighborhood. Lancaster, which is right around the corner. It has 2 no parking signs. And one of the no parking signs is right where the directional change on the cul-de-sac happens. And that's because if 2 cars park there, it completely block off the access to that cul-de-sac. Let's see. Also, I want to just point out Jackson Street and then Scenic Valley. There's no parking signs whatsoever on that street. So there's kind of an inconsistency on the streets. Scenic Valley's similar street to ours. Same length. There's fewer houses just because of the layout of that development. But you can notice from a lot of these, you can see there's vehicles parking all the way around the cul-de-sac structure. And I think it's perfectly legal. There's concerns about EMS getting in there, which ambulances can get in there, turn around. The garbage trucks can get in there and turn around. A fire truck probably couldn't, but it's also a cul-de-sac. Fire department will probably pull in, take care of the issue, and then back out. Then I had some photos. So when I got we didn't have any issues until this year. My neighbor's daughter got a parking ticket and then they quit parking there. So I started parking there. And I finally got caught after 2 months of parking there and got a ticket on Tuesday over my lunch hour. I talked to the police officer that wrote the ticket. I told them I was legally parked and I told them they needed to do what they needed to do their job. And I got a ticket, which I'm not even upset about. I paid the ticket already. That's beyond the point. The main thing is I got 2 young kids. We've got a lot of young kids in our neighborhood. They're gonna be driving soon. We're gonna have additional cars and parking and parking needs. You know, the cul-de-sac, we have a shorter driveway, so we don't have as much parking in our driveways. But the other photos, I marked the times. I drove around at the cul-de-sacs, found 7 parking violations and the cul-de-sacs surrounding me. I didn't put all the pictures in there. I just showed some of them. The Henderson one, you can really see, it's hard to see the one on Madison Street, but I took one at noon and then one later in the day. And on the left side of those photos, you can see cars parked in the cul-de-sac there, which would be the no parking side. I talked to Lieutenant Hawkins about it. I talked to Charlie Densel and John Parker. John suggests I come in and bring it to your guys' attention so you guys can visit amongst yourselves and come up with maybe a better answer for me. So I'm not arguing with the police department. They're doing their job. It's interpretation of the code. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Russ.
thank you.
Can I ask
Yeah.
just one question though? So your point is that, just so I don't completely miss it, it's been a long day, so I apologize. Would you like to have no parking or parking?
I'd like that to be 2 parking spots, just because we're
Yeah.
limited on parking and we haven't had any issues with parking or access or anything in that neighborhood. And there's just kind of an inconsistency when you go around town. I mean, even the cul-de-sacs with no parking signs, or you go to another neighborhood and there's cars parked all the way around the cul-de-sac. So, I mean, I'm not calling it selective enforcement.
Right.
But it just seems like, you know, we got a ticket and there wasn't no other tickets issued, and it was an interpretation by the officer.
Right.
So I'm looking for city council's guidance to help interpret the code with the police department, and whatever you guys decide to do, I'm gonna live with, so.
We're a pretty quiet street too, since we don't have a way out. We try to be pretty quiet. You know, when Wes has had fun though.
Thank you very much.
But
Thanks.
we'll meet with, we'll get together with Brian and I'll reach out to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Eric Scheichel with Rudolph Insurance. We're at 123 North Buxton here in Indianola. So I'll try to kind of keep this short. I didn't really have a lot prepared. I didn't know I was showing up today, but I looked on the agenda and I saw that there was a resolution to approve the renewal for the insurance for City of Indianola. So, and then my office kind of sent me some info on an email. That's why I'm keep looking at my phone here. A little bit of detail what that renewal looks like. So we've been here in Indianola for over 10 years. Brad Rudolph is our owner. He's been doing insurance locally for 30 years. I am the insurance agent for Warren County. I've been doing the insurance for Warren County for the Board of Supervisors for 7 or 8 years. When we took over the insurance for the county, it was a mess. It was a bit of a mess. There was a lot of challenges and a lot of very concerning unknowns. My team and I took over the insurance. We worked really hard. I can get letters of recommendation to show from the board there that it's kind of never been in more proper and pristine order. Pricing's been very stable. Coverages are where they need to be. Kind of where I'm going with this is I'm looking at the renewal for like the 5th year in a row with the City of Indianola, and the premiums are exploding. Nobody really knows why. I listened to some of the other meetings that the council had, and there seems to be a lot of confusion about who your agent even is. Some of the people say Wyman Insurance. Some of the people say True North. True North owns Wyman. Wyman is just kind of a name on a building. They were sold out about 7 years ago to True North. Your agent's out of Cedar Rapids. I'm just really concerned about the level of attention that the city is getting from your agent. And I'm just kind of here to say you don't have to take it. Like literally this renewal you have today, that's 40% increase on your work comp and 23% increase on your package. You don't have to take that. There are other solutions that can be implemented immediately. You guys could work with me and my team and we can come up with stuff right away. And I know it's kind of a new mayor and a new council and a new manager, and none of these problems are really yours. You're inheriting these issues. And a lot of people may not understand the technical things that go into these issues, but I'm just here to say, I'm here to help. My team's here to help. We've kind of been knocking on the door for 3 or 4 years now. And I'm just kind of looking at the numbers saying, you know, you got to do something, and you can do something like literally tomorrow. And then you don't have to accept this. I can get you some quotes and some stuff, and I can kind of get my hands around it. So I don't want to come in like a bull in a china shop, but it's just like the 4th year in a row. It's just, guys, we got to look and do something. So appreciate everyone's attention and time to this. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Eric.
you.
Yeah.
Right, anyone else? Eric, we'll be having a conversation here soon. If you're sticking around, I didn't know if you were regarding that. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need polls?
Mayor, I need to pull B, claims.
Okay,
I will, I'd like to pull N and
and D,
P as in
P,
Paul.
thank you. Anything else?
I think we probably ought to pull K and just talk about that a little bit too.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Can I get a first and second to approve everything except for items B, K, N, and P?
So moved.
Thank you, Glenn and Heather. Any discussion? Ben, would you like to give us a few highlights on that agenda?
You bet. So still getting my feet underneath me a little bit, so bear with me a little bit. But in review of the consent agenda items, basically you have 5 main categories. So you have support of your local businesses, and that comes in the form of your business license approvals or local business approvals of the local of the liquor and cigarette renewals. You have your support of local events with the noise permit for the Des Moines Metro Opera and the waiver for the Public Arts Commission. You have your support of your projects that you have ongoing, and that comes with the authorization of payments for several of the projects, as well as an authorization to update our downtown urban, Hillcrest and downtown urban areas with their plans so they can continue to use TIP funds in those areas. You have support of continued protection of our city with our insurance. We're going to talk about that with item K. And then normal operations and the write-ups and abatements and meeting schedule for the year. So that's the highlight of the events or the consent agenda. Back to you.
Great, thank you. Roll call, Jackie.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dowdy,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Hewlin. Aye.
Great, moving on to item B, approval of claims.
I would so move approval.
Thanks, Steve. Second. Thanks, Gwen. Any questions? Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin. Recuse. Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder. Aye. Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to item K, which is a resolution improving liability, auto, property, workman's comp, and machinery and equipment replacement insurance for fiscal year 2023. And I believe we have someone on the phone, correct?
I believe on Zoom we have, but just if I could, Mayor, take just
Yeah.
kind of.
First reading.
We need a
Okay.
motion.
Okay, first and second.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call check. Well, no,
No,
we'll do discussion. Sorry, got a little off there. All right, Ben,
Okay,
I'll
great.
turn it over to you.
So I do appreciate the Eric. Michael? Cycle. Okay, I just want to make sure I got that right. And I look forward to meeting you and sitting down and talking with you about your offer. And we do appreciate you coming forward with that. And of course, many of us are new. And so being able to review that is important. It might be a little bit late in the game today as far as future years and getting into budget cycles. That would be very appropriate for us to take a look at it. But as far as where we stand in this process, it's my understanding this process began in February. And April 4th, the council took a look at the potential of putting this out for bid or to take a look at other service providers and opted to continue to go forward with True North at that time. This is the 6/20 meeting, in fact, where we are looking at the renewal, and that has an effective date of 7/1. And so for us to be able to have a council meeting in between to take any other action, there wouldn't be a council meeting for us to approve any other contract. And that could expose the city to potentially not having coverage during a window of time, and that would not be appropriate for the city to move forward in that direction. I did have concern with regard to, it was addressed, did we fully take into account IMU's concerns and considerations during this? I had a conversation with Chris today, and IMU's feel very comfortable with where we stand with ICAPS, and has gone through a property audit to be able to provide the information that they need, and being able to have the discounts that we currently enjoy with our service provider. As far as the new cost and the additional costs, there are many contributing factors, and certainly we can dig down deeper into figuring that out in future years. But some of those most apparently are growth. We have new positions in the city that increases the amount of coverage. We have new payroll increases with the inflationary aspect of where we stand. And so when your payroll line increases, by definition, when it's a percentage, it increases there as well. And then increased utilization. We've had several claims come through that does impact our usage rate, our EMOD, and being able to have the rates that we have. But we have been with ICAP since 1991. There is a 39% discount with the IMWCA. And as far as the rates with the broker, the rate doesn't change. The broker is paid a percentage of what we pay to those larger insurance companies. So there's not a cost difference, but keeping local dollars local and looking at that, keeping, reviewing those things on a periodic basis is never a bad situation. With that said, we do have a good working relationship, I understand from the staff, with True North. And from all accounts, not only are they providing good service to us from an insurance standpoint, but they're assisting us with risk management training and helping us in that regard as well. And so with that intro, I'd like to turn it over to Brad Bankston.
Can I add something to that?
Sure,
Sorry
sure.
for you to. I asked Courtney if she could give us a breakdown, and so this would be something I'll ask Brad too, if he can explain. In 2017, our total annual premium was 389,000 and a half, roughly. Today, for 2022, 2023, which is why I asked for this in April for us to discuss this, is $653,000. And that is $262,000 of an increase. They also charge us $150 an hour for training, which is a local option would not charge us for. I guess my question is I would like to know what is contributing to seeing these large increases. I have a breakdown from Workman's Comp back in 2017, little over 100,000, and today we're looking at, for that, it's doubled, 209,000. So I have some concerns, and I hope Brad can answer why this is increasing so much.
So Brad, are you on the line?
I am on the line. I thank the mayor and the council. Are you able to hear me?
We are, yes.
Great. Well, my name is Brad Bankson. I am a risk consultant with True North Companies, and I work with our partner agency, Weinman Insurance in Indianola. I'm a resident of Waukee, Iowa, and my office is in West Des Moines. And I'm happy to answer any questions the council or mayor has. And I am happy to follow up if I don't have the direct answers currently in front of me today. But with that, specifically, Mayor Erickson, did you have any specific questions on the workers' compensation other than the exposures, which the payroll and the experience modifications?
In the total annual premium, I mean, that's a huge increase. So I guess can you explain why we're seeing our workman's comp double? In less than 5 years?
Very good question, and I do appreciate it. Your workers' compensation is going to be based on rates set by the state of Iowa for specific class codes that the city of Indianola and Indianola municipal utilities have on their workers' compensation policy. Once those rates are set, it is based upon the payroll in each of those class codes that develops your pure workers' compensation premium. As your payrolls increase year over year, so does your workers' compensation insurance. And then there's a few factors that go into the actual cost of your workers' compensation. One that many business owners will recognize is your experience modification factor. And that is a factor based on your claims usage, based on what your expected losses are over a certain time frame. Currently, the experience modification factor for the city of Indianola and Indianola municipal utilities is 0.81. Essentially, that means you're performing about 19% better than the average entity that has the same class codes and the same type of payroll. So good experience, and that gives you a 19% discount off of your pure premium, the premium that's based off of the payrolls that we receive on a yearly basis from the city and IMU. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a second to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Mayor Erickson mentioned 2017. Have we been at 0.81? How long have we been at the 0.81 mod?
So 0.81 is this year's. In 2017, we were at 0.71.
Okay.
In 2018, went up to 0.78. And 2019, we were at 0.86. In 2020, we were at 0.79. And in 21, we were at 0.73. So from year to year, last year to this year, the experience modification factor went up by 8 percentage points. And that's based on your actual losses versus your expected losses.
So accident wise, I'm not talking about car crashes, those kinds of things. Obviously, it'd be workers' accidents and injuries on the job site. Am I correct on that or not?
That is correct. This would cover any workers, minus your police, because you are a Chapter 411 city. Police is medical only on your workers' compensation, but this is for injuries sustained while an employee is working for the city of Indianola or Indianola Municipal Utilities.
So Brad, I'm sorry, I'm not very good with insurance, okay?
No problem.
My husband handles this. So we want that number to be lower, right? Like the 0.71?
Yes.
So what has, now, we haven't leaps and bounds grown in our employees. We have added employees, and I guess that'll be my next question I'll follow up with tomorrow, is how many employees have we added since 2017? But why are we, is this because claims aren't getting closed out? Is this more injuries that we're seeing? And then how often are you providing training so that we are preventing injuries on the job?
Wonderful question. So specific amount of jobs isn't taken into account into your workers' compensation. It is the payroll. So last year, the 21-22 term, the estimated payroll for non-police officers for the city of Indianola was 7,421,162. Police officers last year was 1,873,259. For this current renewal, the total payroll non-police is $8,583,087. And the police payroll is estimated at $2,071,021.
But it's not just payroll though either, though. It is the number of accidents. Is that correct?
So not necessarily. It's the amount paid on the accidents. So if you can have near miss accidents or accidents that are small medical payments that have very little effect on your experience mod, those accidents that cause employees to miss work or have temporary partial or permanent partial disabilities are what affect your experience mod at a greater level.
Which then goes to the safety training the mayor's talking about, the fact that do we still have a safety committee on staff?
We do.
Okay.
So how often, Brad, are you providing training? And then what is the cost per hour for that training?
So we provide safety committee meetings once a month on the third Wednesday of each month with the city of Indianola and Indianola Municipal Utilities. We also provide OSHA certified mock OSHA walkthroughs of all of city and IMU facilities. And then trainings are ad hoc. We do partner with IMWCA to provide a learn system for required and recommended trainings for the city and IMU employees.
So that's only when we call you in then.
Does that include toolbox training and those kinds of things as well, or is that something that is not part of this program?
Those are available, again, ad hoc. Those would not cost money if we had those. Our safety committee meetings, we touch on specific topics each month, and then the designated person from each department that is in our safety committee is tasked to bring that back to the department heads and their peers to talk about the stuff that we have went over in our safety committee meetings, including we'll do quarterly specific topics that we want everyone to focus on, whether it's heat-related illnesses in the summertime, slip, trip, and fall in the wintertime, those type of injuries that we see trend in specific seasons. We will hit on those a little harder.
So my understanding is then we are not taking advantage of the toolbox training that would be a weekly supervisor staff type training. Is that correct?
Well, that I don't know if each department is doing their own toolbox trainings. We do have access to toolbox trainings ad hoc as needed.
Okay, thank you.
When you attend those safety meetings, are we billed for those additionally?
My attendance is not billed at the safety committee meetings. Our safety committee meetings are billed at $150 per hour. I believe the estimated total amount, and I don't quote me on the exact number, but I think it's $8,500 for the year that True North Risk Solutions bills to the city and IMU. And when we took over this training and the safety committee activities in 2019, at the time, the city was working with Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I believe it was somewhere between $25,000 and $27,000 a year that the city and IMU were paying for IAMU. And we went through a request for a proposal process and were able to hit on all the topics that IAMU is doing. So we did save the city and IMU at the time a substantial amount of money.
Is it pretty typical to see nearly $150,000 increase in total annual premium in a city of our size? Because I mean, my concern is the way that this is going, in 5 years, we're going to be over $1 million. And I guess I'm just curious if this is what you're seeing in other cities, if this is common.
I wouldn't say it's common. It depends on how the city is increasing its payroll, increasing its staffing levels. Workers' compensation rates are standardized. Every city pays the exact same rate for every class code that they have as every other city. The only differentiation between the cities would be their payrolls in the specific classes, and then what their experience modification factors are, and then what their discounts are. For instance, just for reference, the city of Indianola, if the city of Indianola had a 1.0 experience modification factor, meaning that they are on average having the expected losses a city of your size would expect to have, your pure premium would be $427,891. With your experience modification factor of 0.81, that premium drops automatically down to $346,591. With IMWCA, you're also afforded 39% discounts for your longevity with IMWCA, your loss experience credit with IMWCA, and your large premium discount with IMWCA. So that 39% discount brings your workers' compensation premium down to $211,421. And then IMWCA also adds an 18% good experience discount. It's a bonus discount that IMWCA can add to their policy. With that, that drops your annual premium for your Chapter 85 workers' compensation to $173,525. Separate from that, but still included on your IMWCA policy, is your Chapter 411 medical only coverage for your police officers. That premium for that specific coverage is $35,829. So your total premium of $209,354 is based on all the discounts provided by IMWCA as well as your experience modification credits.
So what is your solution to make our experience modification factor better? I mean, what's the solution to get us back to that 0.71? Because we can't keep seeing premium go like this, so we have to improve something on our side. So we're asking you as the specialist, how can we improve that and get this to a better spot without, affecting the payroll side? There's obviously, there's accidents that are involved in that.
Certainly. So there is a minimum experience modification factor that you can have in any business or public entity you can have. Yours is 0.59. You could possibly have your experience modification factor down to 0.59. There's two ways to get that down. One is to develop and promote a culture of safety within your organization, which I truly believe with the help of Courtney Silliman and the safety committee, there is a culture of safety within the city of Indianola. But with the experience modification factor, that is simply based on the losses that you are having. And with safety, a zero loss environment is always the goal. But we also know a zero loss environment is very tough for most businesses. And with a city is really 4 or 5 different types of industries in one. You've got construction, you've got your library, you've got public officials, you have public safety, of course, police and fire, which are both very tough to insure for workers' compensation just because of the inherent danger in their jobs. So getting down to a 0.59 experience modification factor, I don't want to say is unreasonable, but will be very hard because there are times when a firefighter is going to be injured when they're saving someone, or a police officer is going to be injured when they're trying to detain a suspect. Those injuries are part of your workers' compensation. And they're also general when you are in a field working and helping to store well, you may trip and fall, sprain your ankle. So general awareness are there. But certainly the culture of safety is a big portion of it to continue to have that experience modification factor go down. I have public entities that have 1.38 modifications. So they're paying 38% more than average on that. Each city is a little different. In my experience, and I do insure and work with a lot of central Iowa cities and counties, Indianola's overall experience is positive. It is good. And I think it's commendable to the employees.
When was the last time we had a proper insurance review of all of our inventory, everything that we have, our vehicles, our fire?
I believe Courtney and the department heads did that between February and April. And then I'm sorry to break in on you there. ICAP did do valuations of the entire city of Indianola. I believe that was done in 2018. They contracted with a third party to go out to all of their member municipalities to do full replacement cost values on every building and property in the city.
That was 2018?
2018 is the last time they did that. And then there's been inflation guard on the policy of on average 4% over the last 5 years. This last year, that did get kicked up to 8% because of obvious inflationary pressure in the marketplace.
How often are those typically done in cities?
The inflation guards or the general reviews?
The reviews.
It depends on the insurance carrier, but I would say every 5 years. And really, with an inflation guard, we know we're getting some extra valuation on the building. And any new building that we put on board, we either know what the construction cost at the time was, or we're able to find out what the valuation is based on square footage of the building when it's added to the property schedule.
I think the questions and the points brought up are very well taken. There are things that we need to have very good oversight on and making sure we move forward. And
My recollection from April was that we were gonna wait for you to come on board,
oh,
and then we were gonna make this decision. Now I was at a track meet that day, so I was calling in, but I mean, I'm sorry, Brad, but I've got huge concerns about the jump in price. That's just my opinion on it, and I think we'll have to have, deeper conversations on that, but I just feel like I've looked at the trends. I see the trends for the last 5 years, and it's gone up almost $100,000, or actually 1 year we only went up 4,000, so I really like that year. But I think when we look at the total annual premium going from 389,000 and jumping close to 650, now again, that's a total annual premium, and this one is pending a bond quote still too. So I guess I'll forward it on to my colleagues and they can all see the information that I was seeing as well too. But thank you for joining us this evening.
It's my pleasure, Mayor Erickson, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that the staff and team that we work with at the city and IMU are diligent. They're very attentive when we have our safety committee meetings. Courtney, as the HR director and kind of the overseer of risk management, is extremely good at her job and has been very detailed. So I did want to make sure that I said the people that we do work with the city and IMU have been exemplary.
Great. We do have fabulous employees.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
in the closing statement, I was just going to say is we have, in this area, we have influence, we don't have control. I mean, all it takes is one huge claim and that throws your EMOD out the door, even if you have a culture of safety. So we have to be vigilant all the time. We have to watch out for each other as employees all the time, making sure that we're safe in all that we do. We can have a culture of safety and we can encourage wellness. I think that's another big aspect that we had talked about. But those all take investment because employees all get older. We all, we grow in size, we add new facilities, new assets, all of that has an impact on it. But, having good stewardship as the taxpayers representatives over the financial stewardship that you have is a very good point of discussion and needs to be evaluated each year.
And not to defend, drastic price increases, but I think work comp premiums are one of the biggest challenges for small businesses as well. They go up, there's big increases, as you said, any claim. It's very difficult.
I mean, we're 100% increase though over 5 years.
I mean, I'm not defending,
So
I'm just
I
saying, I
think-
think
I guess it'd
this,
be nice to know what the increase in salary would be,
Right,
because that's,
sure.
I mean, if you've
And
ever
what
been around it,
types-
that is the whole driving factor.
right, and
I
what
mean,
types
while
of
yes, the
accidents?
experience rate is, but the more salary you have on there,
Right.
the higher it goes, because
And
it's
if the-
based
and
off of
what-
every dollar that you have in payroll, so.
And
Well, I
what
think he
types of
gave us that,
claims?
like 8.8 million.
Right, but
was
over the last 5 years,
2017,
you
and
keep
then-
bringing up 5 years, so I just want to say, go back 5 years. And then I will tell you, the previous 5 years, if you would have been here, was a mess, and we had a lot of issues, and so things have gotten better, and I think if you go back and ask Mike Metcalf, because he's always the one that came in and gave us the reports, the culture of safety has definitely changed at the city with staff, because we kind of got, there was complacency going on and there were stupid things that were happening. Somebody steps out of a car, forgets to put it in park, and it rams into another one of our cars. And, just there was things like that mishaps happen, get it. But when we have training, then those types of things stop, and you're going to have accidents, people get hurt. I mean, I've had it in my business. I mean, it's unfortunate, you don't like it, but I think our experience rate is actually pretty good, to be honest with you. And I think I don't disagree, I don't like price increases either, but I do think you need to look at the holistic, there's more to it than just the rate went up. I think, you've got to look at what our payroll is too over the last 5 years as well. So
And the simplistic answer, I agree with John, the simplistic answer to that is that salaries go up if that person is off work and they have to compensate that person. That's why salaries matter in these kinds of situations. So
Yeah.
we do have to understand that. I'm not excited about this rate increase either. What I would say and what I would ask us to do, and I think the city manager is probably getting the direction on that, maybe, maybe not, but maybe we need to talk among all of us, but I think we're under the gun on this one. I think we need,
Unfortunate.
yeah, well, we need to move forward with this one. But what I would say is, I think this is one of those areas that we should ask to put this out for an RFP. The problem we're gonna have, as I see it, is there's a lot of moving parts when you start having ICAP and some of the other things in the experience rating you've got there. There's just a lot of things that he talked about in the discussion here a few minutes ago, that I think is gonna be really hard to compare apples to apples in these kinds of situations, and that's gonna fall on staff. We do have a great staff and they'll work it out, but I really would like to see us, go out for an RFP whenever that is responsible to do that, and then see what we get back down the road, maybe early next spring. But I think we need to work in conjunction with IMU on this and make sure that we talk with them about what their process would be as well, and make sure we don't leave them out. But I don't think we have a choice here. I think we have to move forward. I think the questions are good and the answers are good too. But I do think we just need to move forward.
I think that's when we talked about it, the April 30th meeting.
I
And I
thought
think
so.
that's
I
where
thought
with having a new city manager coming in, that for next year, that we would put
Right.
out for an RFP, because I think, what did we say, it was 2018 was the last one? I think it was what.
We
what
didn't know.
we-
I went back and I
Yeah.
watched it today and she wasn't sure. Actually, I don't think Courtney, you were there on that one.
I was thinking it was 2018.
But yes, that question came up. How long was that contract
Yeah,
that we signed
2018,
in with them?
2019, something like that.
So I-
And
It
then how
isn't so
long
much a
is this?
contract, it's
Because
an annual thing, but you put out you don't put out RFPs every year, so.
I think, but I think we
Yeah,
got.
no, you do.
I think we got a situation where I think we have to go this way. Don't like it, but we have to go this way. And I think John's right. I think we did talk about that on the 30th, and making
Yeah.
sure that the council that the staff goes ahead and puts out an RFP and allows people to bring options forward. Just want to make sure we get apples to apples. And I know
Yep.
staff will take right here.
Oh, yeah, and that, because it's not easy. I remember the last time it wasn't easy.
No.
And we do have to put out RFPs because we have policies in place that anything over certain thousands of dollars, then we have to put out for that, so.
I just think it's unfortunate that we were given this information and then we got the letter today that was dated today from them telling us what this increase was, and that's not responsible for our taxpayers. But I think we got to move on this issue. Ben, we can have a conversation about it. Eric, I will give you a call as well too. We can have a conversation. But I think it's unfortunate they didn't give us any time and they're just
I just
gonna,
point out though, like what he said though, your payrolls went up 13%, your mod went up 8%, but your premium went up 40%. I've been doing this a long time. I'm an insurance expert. That's not right.
Well, like
I
I said,
think we'll
we're,
get a meeting scheduled with Ben and Eric and Brad. And, I think, again, we have to set the expectation. They can't be dropping this on us the day we have a meeting. Because this wasn't even in the agenda, this letter with the rate increase, just a resolution. So at this point, we're kind of backed in a corner and we don't have a choice. So we'll move on. And Jackie, would you like to call the roll on item K?
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder. Aye. Beach.
Nay. All right, we will move on. I need a first and second for item N, which is a resolution approving an engagement agreement with Eilers and Coney PC regarding amendment number 4 to the Hillcrest Downtown Unified Urban Renewal Plan.
I'll make the motion and I pull this, but I want to just have a little discussion on what this is. So,
Okay, and second,
A second.
thank you.
Staff, Dan or somebody.
Not sure, Ben,
Explain what this
is
is.
this you?
So it's my understanding this is the plan that needs to be updated in order to be able to utilize our TIF funding, and maybe I'll turn the time over. to talk to
Charlie, it's odd not seeing you up here.
that.
Charlie DeSalle, Community and Economic Development Director. I think we've kind of briefed council on this maybe a few times, but we're looking at an expansion of our industrial park just to the east of the existing industrial park. As part of that, we are starting to kind of run some scenarios on financial assistance to that developer that would possibly involve TIF. Kind of step one on that process is to look at the urban renewal plan that we have in place, or excuse me, the urban revitalization plan that we have in place to make sure that all the projects we're talking about are covered under there. There's a few modifications from the 2019 plan that we had that need to be modified before we can move forward with getting that funding. So we are just beginning that process, and step one is to get this engagement letter through Hollers and Cooney. Step two, then we'll actually bring a modified urban revitalization plan to the council for review.
That answers my question.
Thank
I
you.
got a question, Charlie. So how come we're going through them versus going through Quick Gen?
They're our bond counsel, so that we've always gone with Hollers and Cooney on that. So
Okay.
I think they're, yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Doug might be able to speak on that a little bit better, but I think it's just they're more expertise and they have
That's
more
more
expertise in that area.
Well, we're still on track for Hillcrest, the repavement and redoing of that road.
We're still tricking away on that. I know yeah.
I
we're
think
still-
that is vital to the success.
Oh, yeah,
of
no,
our
that's
industrial
all
park.
kind of playing into this too. And we've looked at a few scenarios with that as well. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
yep, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Wait till Charlie sits down and then ask your question. My husband says I do that all the time. Wait till he sits down. All right, Jackie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Hewland. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
All right,
Can I get a first and second motion for item P, which is a resolution improving a professional service agreement with HR Green for fiscal year 23 general wastewater engineering services?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
the question I had on this, we discussed this at the HR Green, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to make sure that, is this the one that covers the period of time that where there may be some extended time on that? Or is this a full year service agreement? I guess that's my question.
This one is the full year service agreement. The other one that we had last meeting was the
Okay.
one that was a
Just a
change order
question.
time extension.
And this is a not to exceed
Right.
type of thing. So it's just like if the pool money sitting there and as we need them for services,
Right.
then it's there. So.
Right, and but I got a little confused, so that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
What are we, what services are they going to provide? I mean, it's a brand new facility. You know, in my mind, I think Rick should be handling it. So what's that $50,000 service agreement going to gain the city with HR Green?
There's going to be a lot of transitional work for sure from startup of the new facility and getting all that up and going and making sure the bugs are working and all the things that are supposed to be done there. Tear down of the old facility. There's going to be a lot of ad hoc needs for that type of engineering service and consultation to make sure that our crews have the backup that they need when they have questions, that they have to be able to ask those questions to the experts, to keep the operations moving. But as Councilmember Parker just indicated, it's as needed. We'll utilize it if we need it. If we don't utilize it, we won't expend those funds.
I don't know that we've ever. I think Jim said that at our meeting up there in the 30s, 35, 38,000 general.
Exactly, and it actually goes beyond just the two,
Right.
the old and the new facility. It's if there's a lift station issue, if there's a break in the field, something that they might need
Right.
some expertise to tap into from an engineering perspective to support the sewer system.
So this is really a yearly service contract that we
Correct.
continually do buy into. Okay.
Yeah, but of any year, this is probably the year that's needed most. Yeah, so.
Okay, any other questions? Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Okay, we will move on to item 7, council reports. We have Service Line Warranty of America update. We have Steve, I'm not even gonna try to say his last name, joining via Zoom. If Steve wants to tell us,
Yep, and we also have Andy as well that can
Okay,
talk to
great.
this as well.
he wants to tell us how to pronounce his last name. I apologize, I didn't even want to try very long.
Good evening, Mayor Erickson and council. Yeah, and it's Baranowski, and I've probably heard a million different variations of it, so I'm used to that.
That's not what I was thinking. I'm glad I didn't try.
But thank you for letting me join tonight. I am your account manager for the Service Line Warranties of America. I've been working with Andy since the program began back in January of 2021. And I just wanted to provide you a quick update. I provided just a couple quick slides where I can, oh, never mind. It looks like I can't share my screen. Well, no problem. I will give you a brief update on how the numbers are doing, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So I understand there are some new council members, so I just want to give you a brief overview of the program. Basically, we work to educate residents about the water and sewer service lines, because many homeowners, they're unaware that they're responsible for the water and sewer service lines on their property. I tell people all the time, I didn't know prior to starting with the company. I just, it's one of those things you assume that's the city's responsibility, utility responsibility. So we've been working with Indianola since January last year to educate the residents and offer them the optional coverage if they think it's the right plan for them. But yeah, the biggest item is that we educate the homeowners about the maintenance, repair cost, responsibility, all that important stuff, and really just get that conversation started to see if it's something that they might be interested in. There are the 3 ways to enroll. As I'm sure you're all aware of, we do have the mailers that go out, and it just really educates the resident and lets them know about it. But I know there has been some noise, so we've ceased all mailing for the time being and going forward, because our job, it's to make it easier on the city, not more difficult or cause frustration. So I'll continue to work with Andy on the 2 other ways to enroll, and that's via the phone or through our website. We do have a call center located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And they can also go online any day of the year to enroll if a resident thinks the plan's right for them. And I'll continue to work with Andy moving forward on a more digital approach. If you want to do some social media, just as a reminder that the plan's available if it's out there, and some other avenues that we can discuss later on down the road to really make residents aware that these plans are out here. But we also have, when a resident does enroll, we send them a welcome kit, and it's the basic, it has what you signed up for, the terms and conditions. If you do need to file a claim, what you need to do, and it's basically just give us a call, we'll take care of the rest. Our call center is staffed 24/7, 365 for claims. So, I'm sure we're all aware that emergencies don't happen on a 9-to-5 schedule. So in the middle of the night, if there's an issue, a resident will be able to give us a call, and we'll dispatch a local contractor to take care of the claim. And then once the claim's resolved, the contractor invoices us and we pay them directly. So really all the homeowner needs to do is give us a call. And as I stated, we did the partnership January of 2021, but we actually didn't mail until April of last year. So it's been just a little more than a year since residents were aware, and the numbers are really fantastic. So as of the end of last week, there are currently 520 customers enrolled in a total of 1,028 contracts. And so that's basically the customers are signing up for more than one coverage. It's basically 2 coverages per customer, which it's great. It's great to see the residents are getting covered. But the most important number that I'm sure you're interested in hearing, as of the end of April, we've completed 20 repairs, saving residents almost $38,000. That's $37,968, which equates to about $1,800 to $1,900 a claim. So it's great to see that residents that have needed the service have been able to save some money. Another nice thing, there's no service charge, there's no deductible. So when a resident calls, we'll take it from there, and that's all they have to worry about. So the first year, those numbers really are above average for partners, and it's great to see that residents are seeing the service and are definitely utilizing it, which is great. And I do have a breakdown on the water and sewer coverages, which I'll email over to Andy if you guys wanted to take a look at it. It might be easier just to see it visually than me to review it. It's great to see the interest in residents. And I apologize if there were any confusion or any concerns that residents voiced. Again, that's not what we're here for. We're here for your residents, and once they become our customers, we want to make sure we take care of them. And going forward, like I said, I'll work with Andy to promote the partnership without doing the mailings. We definitely don't want any frustration causing the residents. And, you know, I'll definitely talk to Andy about some of the additional services that we offer too, to see if the city's interested. Mainly, you know, we have a new program we're on now called Serviline. That's a leak adjustment program that really completes the circle nicely. You know, we'll take care of the issue, but a lot of times on the back end, there's the high water bill that's associated, and the resident and the city sometimes have to pay that high water bill, and the city has to write it off. And with Serviline, we definitely we take care of that, and it's nothing out of the residents or city's pocket. So you know, I'm very excited to continue to build the partnership in Indianola, and like I said, I'll work with Andy, and we'll make sure your residents are taken care of. I know that was a bunch of information. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks, Steve.
I do have a question there. On this program, was the city approached by you folks, or did we approach you folks to initiate this program?
You know what? I am not 100% sure. I was not. I'm account management. I take care after the program starts.
Okay.
We do partner with the Iowa League of Cities and the Iowa Rural Water Association. I'm not sure on that, and I apologize.
Okay.
Steve, this is Andy Lent. I can answer that question. Steve was correct that it is sponsored by the Iowa League of Cities. Of course, I was on staff. I was on the executive board actually when the league took over the sponsorship of the program. And we've used them in Vinton, and then Carlisle also uses this program as well. So that's why I thought it was a good program to offer to the residents if they thought it was worthwhile for them to sign up.
So we approached them, is that correct?
Correct.
But I think the initial presentation actually came from the National League, because I remember this in Utah as well, through the state leagues and out. So at least as far as an overture.
I think the biggest question I ever get is, what's the city trying to bill me for now? And I explain to them, and they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. I might have to look into that. So I've probably sold them a few.
Well, I guess my concern would be, because when I initially got the first letter, it came off very pushy. And it came across as the city was telling me I had to purchase this.
You had
and I
30
needed
days.
to do it now. And that for me was a huge issue. And I know it was a huge issue for a lot of other people. And then also the simple fact that when I checked with my homeowner's policy, I can get the same coverage for a fraction of what they're charging. And I think as a city, rather than allowing a company to send something out on our letterhead, we should maybe be sending out an informational letter stating, hey, this is something that is available through this company, or you can also check with your homeowner's policy to see if there's a more affordable option. Because I think a lot of the elderly people that got the letter, they take things at face value, and when they see something on city letterhead, they take that as, I need to do this because my city's telling me I need to do this. And I have an issue with that.
I think it's a good program. Not every homeowner's insurance offers it. Ran into a few people who said they don't have it. My biggest concern is we don't send our logo out in black and white. It's from a marketing standpoint, and the letters were constant. Now I realize I think it's like 6. I think they can send a year, but it just seemed like it was constant. But I think it's a good program for the ones who don't have it available.
I think the point he made was that they've gone to call centers rather than the letters now. So
Yeah, I think that's good.
for the residents, it's an option for the residents as long as they can do it, but the letterhead thing is not a good thing.
Now, my question, I guess, would be is when you're doing the calls from a call center aspect, are you calling saying you're with the city of Indianola?
No, we don't actually call the residents. I mean, we'll do a welcome call. We don't do telemarketing, but no, we don't say that we're from the city of Indianola or anything like that. If someone calls and said I'm with the city of Indianola, we'll get them set up. But no, we don't we would not call saying we're from the city.
Thanks, Steve, so much for joining us.
I would like to just point out one last thing. We get some calls from residents asking questions about the program and things like that. I will email Steve, and Steve the same day, within maybe the hour or so, he will email back and let me know that they're reaching out already to the customer. So it is quick responses on their part as far as answering any questions and information that residents would like to have on the program. So I appreciate that, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on. I need a first and second motion to receive and file the May 2022 Treasurers Report.
So moved. Second.
Are there any questions? Doug is not in attendance tonight.
Yep, Doug's not in attendance, but I can answer any questions. The only things that I would point out on this is that when you receive your June Treasury Report, it will look dramatically different for a few numbers on this, because on the 27th, we'll be doing the end of year transfers. So for example, the local option sales tax, you see that's at 8.6 million. That will be, there'll be large transfers over to the downtown streetscape and also to the wastewater treatment plant construction fund. So that will go down. And then we'll also have the transfer from the TIF to debt service to pay the bond notes for the wellness center. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions that the council may have.
Questions for Andy? Okay. All those in favor to receive and file the May 2022 Treasurers Report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We'll move on to the landfill board report from council members Beach and Parker.
Yep, so as most of you know, that the landfill had a tornado and destroyed the facility essentially. Not the landfill, because you really can't much see it, but the facility looked like the landfill, to be honest with you. So it's been a bit challenging, because unfortunately that was when Christina and I first came on. So we hadn't even met anybody, we didn't know anybody on the board, and here we are dealing with a big deal. So we've it's been kind of busy. They've gotten bids to get new facility built. One of the other things that's going on too is that the cell, or the area where the garbage is now being put, is we have to close up and then move on to a new cell. So they're actually, it was kind of somewhat of a little bit of a blessing, is that we already needed to move the facility a little ways away anyway. So a little bit of trouble with trying to get utilities in. Mid-American doesn't have any transformers on hand, and hoping to get in by in November. And same thing with Warren Water as well. So they did not have stuff that they needed to get it as well. So hopefully all that'll come together. And then did sign a contract on Friday with Morton Buildings to get a new facility built, because all the buildings are destroyed, all the storage buildings for the equipment. And with that, the equipment needs to be in a heated facility, because with all the garbage and stuff that gets into the tracks, if stuff starts freezing, then they don't have equipment to run. So
A lot of the equipment was also destroyed.
yeah, and then
It's not- the scale just is gone.
yeah, the scale is gone. They took a third of it, was just 65-ton piece of equipment was lifted up and thrown out into the yard. So it was a bit interesting. And two, as we had found, there really wasn't any written policies. So Christina's done a nice job of we started working on putting together some policies and how things go. We ran into a situation where some money was spent on dumping, and two of the entities decided they didn't want to think they should have to pay the $113,000. So Christina and I are kind of taking the lead on trying to make sure we get that taken care of. So yeah, so that nothing goes in without getting paid. I don't care what people say. So
That's a big challenge, and the people who shouldn't be dumping there.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
other
Yeah,
really
exactly. And two, and most people don't know this, Indianola actually is 51% of the landfill. So the city of Indianola. So we, I don't remember when it was back in Steve, you would know better. Is what, 70s, 80s?
Yeah, probably. I think it might have been even late 80s.
Late 80s, okay. That we bonded, and Warren County did not want to be part of it because they had some other things. So it's Indianola, it's Winterset, Madison County, and then a bunch of unincorporated areas that they actually don't have any ownership, but they do have a vote on the board, and that'd be like Osceola and rural parts of Warren County down in that area and stuff. So that's everything that goes into that. So we do have two votes. So Christine and I will definitely be charging ahead on that. So
Another big thing is just getting an emergency plan of action
Yeah.
in place. There literally is nothing.
nothing, no.
So that'll be something too that we, once it's set there, every city would probably need to bring it forward to their councils and stuff.
Yep,
To
it'll
get
be
some
approved.
sort of agreement.
Yep.
approved, so.
Exactly.
Hopefully an update in technology.
Yeah, we're working on that too. Yeah,
Another
yeah.
huge
That's a
thing.
hurdle.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get some credit card machines.
Exactly.
We're going to have a Zoom meeting
Yes.
and.
Yep. So, but anyway, so things are moving along. Just swimming. So.
Hopefully they were properly
Right.
insured.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna cost us anything if they were properly insured. So since that seems to be, we're talking about insurance all night.
Oh, there was that too. But we are, and actually one of the things we signed for today was the state of Iowa does have an emergency. We don't get free money, but do have a zero interest loan for up to $1 million. And it's actually going to be 1.3 million to replace all the damage that took place. And we only got 600 and some thousand of insurance. So
Yeah.
We're underinsured.
yeah.
So who's that insurance carrier? I'm just
ICAP.
curious. Anyone know? Oh, it is ICAP.
ICAP.
Okay.
Don't even get me started.
Okay.
Don't even get me started.
I'm just curious.
Hopefully we won't have that experience in closed session.
Right.
Yeah. All right, we will move on. Keep half your times here. The Metro Advisory Committee report from Councilmember Richardson.
Thank you. Interestingly, the meeting started off with a walkie update on the partnership with the Bird Scooters. So that was kind of an interesting thing. They do have a free ride zone. I don't know. I wasn't, three of us weren't involved really in that, but I'm guessing we could do no ride zones here in the community. But essentially what that does is it just slows the scooter down to where when it hits that border, based on GPS, that scooter doesn't operate then. So do we have any zones?
We don't have any zones. I thought we
No,
were
so
gonna.
they'll just dump them on the corners of the
Yeah,
zone.
I thought we had.
I
maybe
thought-
some.
I
Okay.
thought so too, like they couldn't go past a certain point, like.
Must not have
towards the
done that.
highway.
Well, they can't go past the city limits. Yeah, once they get the city limits, then that automatically, that's an automatic.
Maybe that's
as
what I
well.
misunderstood.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was something to do with like the highways and stuff
Right.
like that.
so anyway, that was kind of interesting too. And their comment was to the fleet manager is key to a successful program. And I know we've had a few hiccups and things that I think are better. So, but that was an interesting conversation. They had an update on partnership DC trip. Of course, we had that too with John and Heather. They talked a little bit about Polk County Emergency Management updating facilities, some issues there. They got some federal grants for some sirens to replace some weather sirens that they'd had some issues with. But probably the thing that was the most interesting discussion was fireworks came up, and one of the lobbyists talked about the fact the legislature passed a law that does not allow cities to limit stores in industrial zones. They can be pretty much in any commercial or industrial area. Not that Indianola has done that, but again, that was one way the city's trying to stop some of those and prevent some of the sales from happening. Zoning can't be used to keep fireworks sales out of an area. So can use a fire code if that's an issue too, but again, that's really not something that the city of Indianola has done. I have had a complaint on fireworks as well, and just kind of my own little personal thing in there, so I don't know. I assume, Chief, we let you know if there's something going on, so ahead of, what our dates are July, what, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th?
3rd, 4th, and 5th.
3rd, 4th, and 5th. Till 11 o'clock, is that right? 10 o'clock? 10, I'm sorry, Chief, what was it?
10 on the 3rd and the 5th, and then 11.
On the 4th, okay, thank you. I did one other, if I may, Mayor, I don't know if I got this to Jackie too late. I did attend the Indianola Downtown Merchants Meeting on the 14th. Ridiculous Days is coming up the 25th, planning primarily for that particular project. was mainly what the topic of conversation was. And anybody that wants to do a float or volunteer, they can talk to Brandy. She's got a website out there and it's been advertised as well. So just wanted to highlight.
And a dog parade.
And the dog parade, correct? Yes. That's all.
Dog parade makes me excited. All right. Thank you, Steve, and thanks for the downtown update too. I need a first and second motion to reappoint Jessica Snyder to the Hometown Pride Committee for a term beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending July 1st, 2024.
So
Thank you. And any discussion? I know she has previously been the chair and has stepped up, so she's a great candidate. Jackie, you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Hewin. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach. Aye. Richardson.
Aye.
Thank you. Approved 6-0. I need a first and second motion to reappoint Heidi Levine to the, I might have screwed up that last name too, so I apologize, Heidi, if you're watching, to the Hometown Pride Committee for a term beginning July 1st, 2022, ending July 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Jackie?
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach. Aye. Richardson.
Aye.
Hewin. Aye.
Move into number 8 and start with the mayor's report. I would like to start by saying, I'm sure she's not going to appreciate this. Happy birthday, Jackie. She had a birthday over the weekend, and Jackie kind of is the glue that keeps us all together. So I hope you had a good birthday. This past Saturday, well, I guess 10 days ago now, we had Bike Fest. The Mayor's Youth Council put that on. We gave away over 73 bike helmets. We ran out of bike helmets by about 10:40. Max attendance usually that they've ever given out is 50. But we gave out 73, we gave out over 100 bags, and in the dunk tank, we raised over $200 to donate to Helping Hand. Chief Shear over there was the hit of the dunk tank. And I'll tell you, it's even funnier in slow motion. We have a video that we're working on. And he's kind of seen a sneak peek, and I think his officers probably like it, watching the facials going down. I'd also huge thanks to Becky Lane. She is from Parks and Rec and helps out with the Mayor's Youth Council every meeting and every event. And thunderstorms were rolling in about 8:30, and we had to pack everything up at Irving and move it over to the activity center. And Krista Planks and Justin Brand were absolutely amazing from IMU. They stepped up. I didn't have a truck. My husband was out of town. They came, they moved the dunk tank, and then they filled it with warm water, which was huge. But now we're gonna have to have it every year again. So, and Brian gets passed. I already signed Ben up for it next year, so he didn't know. Then we had a meet and greet with Ted Inns and Ben at Simpson this past week, and it was great. I'm super excited about the new superintendent, just as we are excited about you, Ben. Ridiculous Days on the 25th, as Steve mentioned. There's a parade in the morning. I'm excited to get to be in the parade, and if anybody else, Ben and I had previously talked about doing a float. If anybody else is here, I can throw us a float together, I assure you. So please email me by tonight and we will.
You need a truck to pull it?
Oh, I'll make my husband do that. Don't worry. We just need a trailer though. We'll gotta wave and pass out candy, Steve. And we will have some, if we have enough interest here in the city council, some of the mayor's youth council will also be in attendance to help. Steve touched on fireworks, so let's be mindful of our neighbors. I know Brian got 7 calls, I think the department did last night. It's taking a lot of resources. They've got to catch them in the action. Let's just remind our neighbors of the rules and regulations. Tomorrow we have the annual awards banquet for the employees, and so I will read through these real quick. This is an impressive list. So we have Kevin Crawford, has been with the city for 45 years. Absolutely amazing. Thad White has been fire captain for 30 years. Norm doesn't have a number on here, but Norm Hart, he's been here long enough to get this. I'll just leave that one on top for you, Jackie. I'm gonna think he's 25 years because I'm in my 25 years now. So congratulations, Norm. Scott Dwyer, 25 years. Ted Neller, 25 years. Brad Metcalf, 20 years. Pat Alsap, 20 years. Denise Core, 20 years. Ty Herrick, 15 years. My Lisa Thompson, 15 years. Ryan Hutton, 15 years. Angie Buchanan, 10 years. Zach McEntee, did I say that right?
Yeah.
10 years. Cassandra Mosier, 5 years. Jennifer Williams, 5 years. Mitch Drover, Duver, I'm not very obviously good with these names, 5 years. Allison Brown, 5 years. Joshua Temple, 5 years. And Jackie Rafferty, 5 years. So thank you all so much for your service to the city, and we are so happy to have all of you. That's all I have. Okay, we will move on to number 9. So 9A, I need a first and second motion to open a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 23 budget amendment. Thank you.
Second.
Thanks. Discussion. Oh, roll call.
Councilmember
Thanks, Jackie.
Hewland. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder. Aye. Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
All right, discussion on this.
Mayor, members of the council, this is Andy again. I just have a couple comments here. This is the first amendment for the FY 2023 budget that will start July 1st. It just has one purpose. It increases the COLA for the cost of living adjustment for CE9 and above to the 6%. We budgeted for everybody, for all the staff except for CE9 and above. And then council gave us direction that they would like to have the increase also for the CE9 and above. So we did that, and it reduces the forecasted overall fund balance by $67,998. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on this? All right. Can I get a first and second motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Jackie?
Councilmember Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
All right, moving on. I need a first and second motion on a resolution approving an amendment to the fiscal year 23 budget.
So moved as read.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Jackie?
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland. Aye.
Move on. I need a first and second motion on a resolution approving fiscal year 23 salaries.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Jackie?
Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Right on here. Need a first and second motion on a resolution approving an amendment to the facade as part of the major site plan for a restaurant and retail sales at 1010 North Jefferson Way. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Charlie.
Hi. Really quick, just want to give a quick update on this. So you'll remember at your last council meeting, you did receive, review and approve a site plan for 1010 North Jefferson Way. Actually, it was 2 meetings ago. I apologize for that. The applicant, after that point in time, did request an amendment to the approved facade material that they will be using on there. Really quick, I'll show you on here. This is the material that was approved on there. You can kind of see they've got a stone veneer and then a metal cladding that they put kind of in between where that stone is there, and then some windows. What they're asking for is a plan that would now include mainly stone veneer, kind of in that area down there towards the bottom, then with some EPIS on the top. Both of these do meet the code, and I think the applicant is just requesting this because they feel like it's a better look for the building, and it's about the same cost for them as far as facade materials. So any questions, be happy to answer them.
So they replace metal with EPIS, then is that what they're doing?
More stone than
Okay.
EPIS, but kind of a combination of that. Yeah, the stone percentage goes up a little bit as well.
Questions for Charlie? Jackie?
Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Hewland. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Right then, moving on to the city manager's report.
Okay, I'll try to go quick. There's a lot on there. First, thanks to the staff. The staff has been so good to work with, and especially with year end and all the work that they're doing with budget and insurances and events coming up and just general support and patience with somebody that's learning everything along the way. So thanks to the staff and thanks to our good mayor for the warm introduction at the meet and greet. And that was a good
Thank
experience.
Charlie for that.
Yeah, Charlie and Mimi put that together. And so that was a good event and good opportunity to meet the new superintendent. And so, yes, and to be voluntold.
Yeah, we just kind of threw him in there in my speech. So Charlie only gave me 3 minutes to prepare a speech anyway.
When I
so.
saw how the chief was hobbling the next day, I'm not sure. if there
We
was a
were
great
all feeling it. I'm pretty sure anyone over the age of 25 was in pain the next day.
All right, but in addition to public meet and greets, attended the Parks and Rec Committee, IMU board meeting, Planning Commission, just stopped in and met the library board, took a tour with a group of city managers of a state-of-the-art recycling facility up in Grimes, which was exceptional. I think state-of-the-art in the country. It's fantastic. And participated in a fundraising activity here locally as well. Lots of good things. Charlie set up a tour of Missouri Valley and got to meet Robbie out there and great things there. And sustainability committee met with some of those good folks. Met with several business owners along the square in the last couple of weeks and all 3 county supervisors and starting to work out good working relationships with all of them. As far as and then of course we also started off on one of the initiatives this week, and all thanks goes to Courtney and her efforts on this, and that is the salary survey and market analysis, so that we're remaining competitive and taking care of our employees as well. As a item of note, we did have a governmental meeting training on Wednesday evening, and that has been canceled. That was for all of our boards. We're going to get that rescheduled. The instructor came down with COVID, so won't be able to participate in that.
That's the one coming up this Wednesday.
That was this Wednesday, it is canceled. We did get an application for a fireworks show event for July 2nd at sunset at Deer Run. So I guess that's fairly new, and the council should be made aware of that as well, and appreciate the chief bringing that to my attention. See here, Mayor already mentioned the Employee Appreciation Award. Ryan will be having and his crew will be having an educational event for mass shooter training at Kent Hall on Thursday, the 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. So appreciate the community engagement our police officers are making as well. And on a personal note, we closed on a home this past week. My wife was in town and got it lined out for us to try to get that up to speed, that home ready to move into. But with that, I will be traveling back to Utah on June 29th for a family reunion, and then loading our truck on the 4th, hitting the road on the 5th, and coming back. And so consequently, I will not be at the July 5th meeting. If I could ask for your to be excused from that meeting. And I think that's all I have to report. Unless council
Travel safe.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to bring your daughter and your wife back this time with you. so
And my
that's
puppy.
great. And your puppy. Better. Well, welcome home,
Yeah.
and we're excited to have you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to item 10B, I need first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 21.51J to discuss the purchase or sale of a particular real estate only when premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price of the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property. Jackie, I need first and second. Thank you.
I move as written.
Second. Thank you. All right, now Jackie.
Councilmember Hewlin? Aye. Parker?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Schroeder? Aye. Beach?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
We will go to closed session. time now.
Open session.
Open session. I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm sorry. We are now back in open session. The time now is 8 PM. No decisions were made in closed session. After the meeting is adjourned, there will be a 5-minute break and then council will reconvene for a study session.
I do have one thing.
Absolutely.
If anybody objects, that's fine too, but I do think we probably need to have somewhere along the line address a couple of the issues that were brought up tonight in the public comments on the homeless and also on the cul-de-sacs and maybe talk some more about those, so. I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree. Bring them back. I think
We'll
we
make
need
sure
to have a
that-
conversation about both.
We have some conversations and you will have conversations with Brian as well too. And yeah.
I
think
move
that's a
we
good idea.
adjourn the regular session.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll take a quick break and then we will come back to
All right.
study session.
Yeah.
People are calling in on it. Almost a month, yeah. Unless we see her sooner and then that's because of.
That's never getting there. He goes.
Overall.
Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Hello, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor.
Shoot, shoot. I'm
Mayor and Council, Brian Scher, Interim Police Chief. Thank you for allowing us to present to you the possibility of a new canine unit at the Indianola Police Department. The great thing about this presentation is I will not be giving it. I'd like to introduce Detective Stewart. She has been with the Indianola Police Department since November of 2019. She was assigned to patrol up until January of 2022, where she got assigned to the Detective Bureau. Detective Stewart is very passionate and knowledgeable about police canine units and has been one of the driving forces and huge helper behind this presentation and other. We kind of have a canine book put together. So when we get to.
Did you bring
we
that?
get
That's
to-
impressive
We didn't
what
bring
she
it.
put
No.
together.
We don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse.
Did the dog eat it?
Yep. Dog ate my homework.
Nice.
First, I want to give you guys a little bit of history. So the Indianola Police Department has had 3 canine units in the past. The first one on the left was Rocky, and Rocky was very short-lived. Unfortunately, got cancer and passed away. The second one was Major, and the first 2, it was Sergeant Ron Hamill that some of you may remember. Ron used to work here. That was the canine handler. Major was the canine partner for 1995 to 2006. And we took about a 3-year hiatus, and then Scout was, and that's Detective Brad Metcalf was the handler from 2009 to 2014. A couple of things I want to talk about, because from Rocky on, I have been here, so maybe I need put down. So one seizure in particular really stands out to me, and we did a lot of them with the dogs. Besides narcotics, currency. U.S. currency. We were at a local residence and doing a search warrant at this house for drugs. And so we always bring the dog in, and the dog kept hitting on the floor vent, the registers. And myself and Ron Hamill were looking at each other. So we got the screwdriver out, and in the floor vent was $36,000. It was drug money. That's why the dog was hitting on it. So that's one of the things. That dog also found a Alzheimer patient that had walked away during the winter. Saved that person's life, no doubt about it. The last thing I want to talk about before I turn it over to Detective Stewart is the building behind Arby's. You guys know we store our cars there separately. That building was paid for by forfeited funds. I believe is up about $100,000 at the time, but it was paid for by forfeited funds. So I am going to turn this over to Nicole Stewart.
Okay, on the first slide here, I put just some statistics. These are from Iowa. These are directly from the CDC. So on the left-hand side, that is opioid overdose deaths. If you look at 2020 and 2021, those numbers kind of rose significantly. I think that partially had to do with probably COVID. A lot of meth and other drugs were not as readily available because of the borders being closed. So the opioids were more abused. So those are why those numbers are higher. This is about probably a few months old. So these numbers for 2022 have gone up since this chart was released. On the right-hand side, this is the meth and psychostimulant OD deaths. Again, the 2022 numbers have risen. And this is for Iowa specifically. Another statistic that they had was 14.3 deaths of every 100,000 deaths in Iowa are from overdoses. So that kind of puts it into perspective a little bit. Also, the traffic fatalities, if you look at 2009, 2010, and then you look at up to 2020, those numbers have risen significantly. And those are just drug-related traffic fatalities here in Iowa. So these are 2020 and 2021 statistics from here in Indianola. These we got from the fire department and also our records. So the 2020, the naloxone or the Narcan used to, bring them back to life pretty much. They used 8 in Indianola in 2020. That number's doubled in 2021, and we've already seeing some use here in 2022 as well. So that trend is not one that we want to see continuing. 169 controlled substance cases here at the police department 2020, and then 2021 that number went down just a little bit, and here in a few slides I'll talk about maybe why those numbers have gone down slightly. Over 100,000 overdose deaths in 2021, and that number is pretty standard now. They're gonna say they kind of think that it's gonna stay at about 100,000 nationally. So some of the local headlines here from the Des Moines area locally are drugs in Iowa coming from the U.S.-Mexico border. Des Moines law enforcement officials seize huge amounts of drugs, highlighting smuggling at the border. Iowa is a target for drug cartels. 21 people sentenced for trafficking meth and fentanyl into Iowa. Fentanyl is another huge thing that we're dealing with right now. The amount that it takes to kill a human is, I mean, insanely small. So that is a lot of the overdoses, and it's growing significantly because it's a relatively new thing that they're seeing on the streets now. And they are cutting it into everything. So everything, including marijuana. So a lot of people are, smoking their weed, eating their brownies, whatever, and they're overdosing on that because they don't know what's in it. So that's something that we've seen here in town this year. That's another thing. In Indianola, so we're if you look at this arrow coming up here, this is where the big routes that drugs come up through the United States. If you look here, that blue dot is right about where we are, Des Moines area, But to get to Des Moines from the south, you're gonna go up through Osceola. A lot of people they get smart. They stay off the interstate. The interstates are actually pretty regularly patrolled pretty well as far as narcotics seizures. The troopers do a pretty good job about that, and people know that. So what we are seeing is a lot of people are coming up Highway 69, which obviously goes right through Indianola, either to come to Indianola or to just go up to Des Moines. So we're either having those drugs come to Indianola that way, or just right through our town. Because a lot of stuff is coming from Osceola. They've got the Amtrak there. They've got all sorts of transients coming going. So Indianola is like a centralized location for all of that. We're like a prime area for drugs being transported through. Another thing that a K9 would be useful for is obviously the drugs transported in vehicles, but also the postal service. We actually got a call recently. A lot of people are now shipping their drugs through the mail. So another thing that we would be able to do with the K9 is to have the K9 sniff a package if they have a suspicious package or something. And if the dog hits on that package, then we would be able to get a search warrant and just go through it. Right now, they're having to put together a lot more information to try to get a search warrant or try to do something about this, because they have people that they're like, oh, definitely there's your drug, but obviously you have to have proof and all of those channels. Some common crimes in Indianola that are related to drug use: burglaries, thefts, domestic assaults, weapon offenses, obviously more than that, but the more drug use and drugs in Indianola that we cut down on, we can also be cutting down on these other offenses as well. So it's not just all about drugs. So there are 3 ways that we can get into a vehicle on a traffic stop. First one is consent. Obviously, most people that have drugs in their car are not going to give us consent to look through their car. I say most because it has happened recently, but most are not going to do that. The next way would be probable cause. Obviously, you have odor. Marijuana has an odor. Other drugs do not really have an odor that we are able to smell, so that really doesn't work very well for that. The other option for probable cause is plain view, and that does happen. People leave a bag of mint from their little cup holder or something like that, but as soon as they do that the first time and they get arrested and then they learn, they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again, So how are we going to catch them? The K9 sniff. you do not need probable cause for a canine sniff around a vehicle on a traffic stop. There are rules and regulations. You can't extend the stop, other things like that. But if the canine indicates on the car, that is your reason for searching the car. So there are many, many times I can tell you, I have been on a traffic stop and I know, you just know there are drugs in the car and you can't do anything about it because legally you can't get in the car. This is the other way that we can be getting into cars on traffic stops. Obviously, there's a lot of other uses for canines, but this is like one of the main ones that I think we would be utilizing a canine for. Other things we would be utilizing a canine for would be community policing. Drug sniffing demonstrations, obviously everybody loves dogs. So if we are putting some of those on, I think that would be a really good community engagement thing that we'd be able to do. Detective Metcalf did some school visits. Obviously, that's something that if we're going to be able to, get a new program going, we would have to kind of visit with the school and see what they would want that to look like, or if they want that. Attending community events, obviously, I think just the presence of everybody, of the dog being there, as well as just being out in public. I think that's a huge community policing benefit. So this is just kind of a rough estimate, approximate cost of what a startup cost would be. So this would just be the first year getting everything going, because obviously we don't have a program right now. So the first thing on there is the Chevy Tahoe, and then everything that goes with that. The price itself is $36,000 for the vehicle, and then everything that goes in the vehicle, the canine equipment, the kennel, the computer, all of that. Those are all listed out there as well. Canine and canine handler training. This is a rough price. There's a lot of, in that book that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different quotes that we've gotten from different trainers and different places that we could go. They have a lot of different options.
That's the high end.
Yes.
On the training.
Yep. And there's a lot of new guarantees that they have with these dogs that they are, because they provide the dogs as well. So you're buying the dog and you're getting the training from them. One of the dogs was only, like that we've had before, was only able to be in service for 2 years because of cancer or something. There's a few places that guarantee their dog. They have a medical guarantee. So if something happens, you get a new dog for free. Or if something happens with your handler, they retrain a new handler for free. There's a bunch of different guarantees and stuff that come with a lot of these places. So that's very beneficial. Additional compensation for the handler, roughly $12,000 a year. That is federally mandated. So that is required by federal law that the handler gets compensated every single day. So 365 days a year, whether they're working or not. Because they take the dog home. So they're caring for the dog, they're letting it out every day, they're feeding it, all that. So they get compensated every day. And the rate that goes into that is about like an hour of pay a day. That's just what all the metro agencies, that's kind of what they go off of. So that's what I based it off of. Kennel, indoor and outdoor, roughly 1,600. Pack Track is just a system that keeps track of training hours and all that, and it makes it super simple for court and everything. That's about $100 for a subscription every year. Annual routine vet expenses for the dog is roughly $500 a year. Dog food, roughly $840. Annual certification fees for the dog to get recertified every year is $100. Other miscellaneous equipment, I just put at $500 for toys, food, dog training equipment, anything that just needs gets worn out, needs replaced. So the estimated startup cost would be roughly $98,000. The yearly budgeted cost, including the handler comp, would be $19,000, and that would be every year after that. So a lot of these costs are just a single time cost. What we've already done is we have a USPCA grant that is $7,500. We already have that. That is specifically for the purchase of the canine. That has to be spent within 6 months of us receiving that grant. We already have the grant, so we've had it. Yeah, so we have roughly 5 months.
And just so you know, when Charlie was interim city manager at the time, and this opportunity arose, and we did discuss it with our manager at the time, and we got permission to go ahead. So I don't want to think like we were getting this, and there's nothing nefarious about it. We did have the discussions, and
We'll get more. Good work.
So yeah, that's the next one. There are other grants that we can be applying for and we can put towards, I mean, there's grants out there for everything, training costs, equipment, the vehicle, pretty much a lot of different stuff. Purina also donates dog food to working dogs. So for any canines, like law enforcement canines, anything like that, they donate dog food. You just have to get these coupons and then you go and the dog food's free. So that could be a cost that could be cut down on as well. Protection for Paws is a nonprofit. They raise money and donate hot and pop systems for canine vehicles. Those run like $1,300 to $1,500. And what that does is it regulates the temperature in your vehicle so that if you're away from your car and it gets like your air conditioner breaks or something, gets too hot, it pops the door open for your dog so your dog doesn't overheat in the car. And obviously not do very well. So they also donate Narcan for the canine, which is, I've seen stories that they've already saved a few canines because they got, started to overdose on something that they smelled. Vested interest in canines. They raise money and donate bullet and stab proof vests for the canine. That I did not put in the original budget, but those are $1,500, $2,000 roughly, if you want to buy one of those. So those are, something we could apply for. And then additional fundraising sources. Obviously, if we're allowed or able to start putting it out there that this is kind of something that we're going to start doing or wanting to do, I think that a lot of people would want to donate because everybody loves dogs. And I think that's just a common thing. The local businesses and private donation, I think we would be able to get some funding sources from that. The last thing is I've been told we have a healthy reserve fund balance. So there is that as well. So there's quite a few different options that funding could come from for that.
well, I mean, I guess we're looking for some direction here, if we can continue to pursue this program or not. Obviously, there's a lot more grants, a lot more we can be doing to beg, borrow, and steal to get this started.
I think this is excellent. I think it's.
I agree. I don't think we should have waited this long to do this.
We know we've got drugs in our high school. I hear it from the administration. My son just graduated. They know where the drugs are and who's selling them. And if this can help crack down on that, fentanyl is just, it's so out of control.
In the past, when we were out at the high school with canines, we would bring more than one in. Yeah,
Wears them out.
yeah, and they have their own rules, and of course, we would abide by whatever. We'd have to have many conversations about what this looks like in 2022.
Complete lockdown because they can't even get anywhere near a human being.
Your dog would be certified to do drugs and currency, is that correct, or what is it?
So there's basically two different types of dogs that we could get. One is a handler protection dog that does the tracking, handler protection, the bite work, and the narcotics detection. The other kind is narcotics detection and tracking. And we are, of course, we haven't made any decisions. We've looked at both. I've been involved with both. We would be leaning towards the non-handler protection, no bite work kind of stuff, narcotics tracking.
Right.
That's the way it's more of a friendly dog, more of a you can get it out in a crowd and not have to worry if this dog's gonna bite somebody.
So, on the school issue, for a long time, lockers were not considered public areas. Once a student rented a locker, it was considered their private property. That law was changed, thankfully, in 2099, somewhere along that line. So they are now considered public area, but I don't know if the school still has to have parents sign off on that beginning of the school year when they sign their kids up. I think they do, and if that happens, then that becomes public access area. Is that correct?
What it becomes is, my understanding of it is a school administrator or a school official can search a locker at any time.
Anytime, but
Where we, if the dog were to indicate we would have to do other sort of
You have to go get
paperwork.
search warrants, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting when you mentioned the forfeited funds. Do you know how much you've accumulated over years? The forfeited
I do.
funds?
So in when did we build that building? 2012, we had $110,000. And a huge chunk of that was for that building. I know right now we had about 19.5, but part of that we used for the purchase of our drone. Yeah, I mean, I love it when drug dealers pay for our one-time fees. I mean, it's wonderful. Mhm.
Do we have a handler who is willing and able to take this task on? Because I'm guessing they're gonna have to work nights a lot of times, right?
So we haven't, now, do I have several officers who are interested? Yes, yeah, I've been told we have several. This would be an assignment as opposed to a promotion, so it's the discretion of the chief. We would do some sort of process, some sort of interview to pick the right handler. Yes, it would not be during the day shift. It might be some sort of hybrid shift. Those seem to work best with dogs where the handler comes in at, like 4 works till 2, something like that, 4 PM to 2 AM. That catches most of the good time to find drugs.
Do we get some sort of a commitment from the handler then because of the cost that goes into training them?
They're gonna stay on for.
Yeah, the Des Moines isn't gonna go scoop them up or.
We've never done that, but that's definitely something we can look at. I mean, and that's a great point, John. One of the things we did last July was identify what keeps people here and opportunities and pay. Pay has been taken care of. Opportunities was number 2, and this is another opportunity to keep somebody.
Yeah, I don't.
So another thing that goes along with that, some of the training facilities that we're looking at, a lot of the guarantees, one of them is that they would recertify or retrain a new handler on the same dog for free. So that's, I mean, if something did happen or, I mean, obviously if people leave, but there's other circumstances they leave, they will train another handler. So that's another look of some of the training facilities.
Oh, what's the timeline of the grant? I understand that that's just a
We have to
one-time funding
spend
source, but
that $7,500 within, we're about at the 5-month mark, 5 months to, no, that doesn't mean we have to have the dog here.
okay, that's what I was wondering, what
Right.
the timeline, like what does that entail?
So next thing we would have to do is find what training facility we want to go with. Fortunately, I know one. Nicole and I have already talked to. It's in Iowa. He was the Polk County trainer. He has his own business. Has had it for a long time. And I mean, he was great on the phone when we talked to him. He's known me a long time. He goes, look, I don't care if you choose me or not. I just want you to have a dog, and I will help you. So even if we don't choose him, he's a great resource.
Specific breeds that you're looking for, or does that matter?
Kind of goes into what kind of dog that we're leaning towards. Obviously, I think we're leaning towards not the
Shepherd or Malinois.
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
probably not a Malinois either.
Chihuahua.
Just because of the.
You could get it all a little
I could be the
pricey.
handler then, right?
Couldn't give it to Trey. 'Cause-
Maybe a lab,
Next
something
to
like,
it.
Yeah.
like in that breed.
Oh, Ben, lots of hair and
kind, I'm
cleanup.
I'm sorry,
Lab.
possibly a lab.
German Shepherd. Just probably not a Malinois. They have a lot more of a high drive, and which is better for the purpose.
Is there a reason that you're shying from the dual purpose?
I've worked with both of them, and I'm gonna just be straight up. I was always uneasy, just as the officer, that, and I was on a lot of dangerous calls with this dog, and I was just hoping he was gonna bite the right person. One of the dogs actually did bite the handler's wife, one of the officers. It's just, I want a dog where we can go to these community events, where we could go to the mayor's bike fest, and that dog be
They
sitting there
don't
and
have to worry
everyone
about
petting
it
it
like
and
the
loving
kid.
it and getting those miles out of that dog as opposed to in the back of the car, you can't bring it out. Just
The
makes
only
more
reason
sense.
I asked, my dad was canine for the YMPD and he had a dual purpose. And he was part of the family, just like any other of our dogs.
I think it depends on the
And,
dog.
yeah.
It does.
It's
And the
very much so
handler.
The dog and the handler,
Mhm.
and that's why I was asking.
Another thing we kind of thought about was the amount of times that we have or would have used my dog, recently. And we have Hunter that lives here in town, and he's got a Doberman dog, so I mean. he
And Des
comes
Moines
out-
PD is
and Des
here.
Moines PD also
Yeah.
is right here, that so we have those available to us pretty much.
We have those relationships.
So-
It's the anytime you want to call us relationship. So
The trainer that you're looking at in Des Moines, is he the one that also does the bomb dog?
no.
I think it sounds great. I don't know what direction you guys want to.
So I got Brian, so like, let's say, the city says, yeah, we'll give you $80,000 to start this program up. Will the city be reimbursed? Like, if the dog sniffs out $40,000 worth of coke or something, then does that 40,000 come back to the city if you get reimbursed?
So here's how that goes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
I'm
great.
old school.
He's just wanting to pass through account.
Nicole, we're gonna get into more right along,
So
please.
any seizures and forfeitures that the Indianola Police Department gets anyway, dog, no dog, 10% goes to the Attorney General's office, 10% goes to the Warren County Attorney's office, and then 80% would come back to us. They have their fees for prosecuting. Nothing in life's free, John, right?
So there's a possibility that the dog won't cost us anything in the end because we'll have.
Could it be a self-funding? Yeah,
Possibly.
I guess
Maybe,
it could
maybe,
be.
yeah.
Boy, I don't want to take it from that angle.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think personally, the better way for me to look at it is if there's a situation where you've got somebody that dog would protect one of our officers because all of a sudden when the dog gets out, sniffs drugs right away, and instead of that officer coming up and getting shot as they walk out to the car, I mean, they obviously have opportunities there to protect that officer as well. And I think, to me, it's just another tool that we can use to protect our guys that are serving us day in and day out.
Well, there's a lot of non-monetary value
That's
in there.
Right, it's hard to put
Yeah.
a value on the Alzheimer's patient that walked
Right.
away and
I found
a
that
life was
very
saved.
interesting too. I think that's huge. And I just think the drug problem,
It saves one person's life.
it's gonna save our kids from drugs. I know, and
Thank you for all the work.
Yeah.
I think you got your
Exciting.
direction.
Keep moving forward then.
it's grant writing time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's all we have on our agenda.
No, we have another item.
Closed session? Oh, we do? Sorry, Doug.
Under-
I'm sorry,
under
Doug.
Buxton.
I got so excited, Doug.
Wish I had duck in order to kind of go out of the doorway there.
So I'll try to go quick and I apologize because I'm going to read because I don't want to miss some of the things we're talking about here. So I'm just representing Indianola Hometown Pride as staff liaison. They have other county meetings going on right now around the county and other members are on vacation and so on. So trying to fill in is what we've been working on here since early 2020 when Indianola applied for Iowa Great Places designation. And part of that was this concept of connecting the square to Simpson College. And I think that was born out of the comprehensive plan update that was done in 2019, you said, right, Charlie? And then if everybody remembers RAGBRAI, the kind of the idea of that area was a big hub for RAGBRAI as you went down towards Simpson and so on. So one of the things is, as you can see the one around Buxton here, and hopefully everybody can see that, the blue dots, apologize if it's green or blue, but it's fine for me, are the areas that we're talking about. And I'll talk about what all of these additions are talking about. One of the things that Hometown Pride did, formed an advisory committee to lead this project. Representatives from Simpson College, the city, Indianola Public Arts Commission, Des Moines Metro Opera, National Balloon Classic, local businesses, Hometown Pride, and then others. They've done public survey back in late 2020, which is always difficult via Zoom and everything else that we did. Focus groups and other meetings to get input from a wide variety of community members. And since have involved Group Creative, which was working on the county's art study input survey.
Art
Yeah.
master plan. Mhm.
We worked with them to hire 2 consultants to come up with some of the concepts that we'll present here. So it's been something we've been working on since 2020. One of the things we're working on is improvements to the county-owned parking lot north of the Opera there, just to the east of the county building. We'll talk about a little bit more. A 6-part sculpture series, the storytelling signs and a walking tour, which talks about the culture and historical information that celebrates Indianola and Warren County. Informational gathering space, and art pieces along the east lawn of the county administration building, but that gathering spaces that we talked about with Ragbri or Farmers Market or Metro Opera had the grand opening. So we get back to, so those kind of things there. Wind sculpture and banners to talk about city poles, and then sidewalk patterns and a few other things. The main ideas project addresses is connect the downtown square like we talked about, provide those gathering spaces, attract visitors and residents to spend time here, visit our businesses and get to know our story, but also to kind of also serve as we've kind of talked about a spillover from the square. So we have a big event that's using the square, then we can also continue to move that again like Ragbri did. And then celebrate and strengthen community pride and identity. So I'll just kind of move forward on here. So the parking lot improvements, some of the things you'll see there. Keep the re-asphalt that parking lot since it's a little bit in disrepair. And then work on some screening along the east side. And the county maybe also be working on relocating the recycling that's over there, the fencing and all kinds of things from the 5 barrier screening. So you can see on the very upper right, in a gathering space where in this case is a band that's performing there on that lot there. So whether it's an informal little small concert with a couple of food trucks around there, kind of idea. Have signage along the I would say the right of way area that would kind of identify the one around Buxton as well. And then the lower pictures, again, I think that's the one Metro Opera that grand opening back several years ago. So that's one of those. One of the things that we did is present to Warren County Board of Supervisors, and they committed $30,000 to help with the improvement of parking lot and their lawn as part of their ARPA funds that they did back in April. I can't remember for sure. So they're working there.
I think that would be great if you could relocate those recycled.
And that's completely, I know the county's talked about that, and that's completely out of anything that we're
We
doing.
moved them from the other side.
It's just so
recently.
unfortunate when you're upstairs in the Des Moines Metro
Oh,
Opera and you're looking out these beautiful windows and you just see it and you're.
And on the other hand, is people that live out in the country know they do not recycle, so we have to have somewhere to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really
So-
appreciate that they have it. It's just
It just shouldn't be there.
yeah, it's just
So
working out.
that's discussions that I know that they've been having. So then the sculpture series, a 6-part sculpture series placed along the route at various locations and designed by local artists. And the draft concept that they've come up with, and I'll get the right name here, I apologize. By Altogether, it's another, again, art firm that talks about the series of 6 elevated art sculptures we placed throughout the corridor. And then the work will capture the themes of movement and positive energy is what they're looking for. Cloud shapes were selected to connect to wonder through a sense of elevation, lightness inspired by Hot Air Balloon Fest. And obviously, his identity is Hot Air Balloon, but it also create a sense of magic and celebration. So it can be a lot of different things, and I apologize, it's a little small there, but that's just a couple ideas that could come up, whether it's murals, whether it's same talked about skate park, but kind of same kind of thing as some an art class might come over and decorate one of these one year, and then other people will have the other 5. So again, connect those. This one up on the right side is kind of right over there in front of us, nice Panero's parking lot there. So that would kind of give you some idea. And that's also another opportunity for fundraising is if somebody would like to donate or sponsor one of these salt sculptures around that area. So again, we're talking from west side of the square all the way to Simpson, so that's 2.5, 3 block area where those could be set around. And then the one around Buxton, so the county lawn and storytelling ideas. On the very bottom is just kind of a few concepts that they came up with. Again, the things in the sky, the art that are out there along their entryway, and the planters along their sidewalk. As you see, the sidewalk has more, I would say, sidewalk art or painting or things on the sidewalk to kind of fill out that wonder. And then gathering places where, in this case, they had some boulders. The other upper right corner is kind of more like benches or seating areas where people could gather, whether you're reading a book or telling a story or using it for education or anything like that that you might have. And then storytelling signs as one of the important things is about the culture and to talk about the history that and not just last 20 years, but whether it's George Washington Carver or Allerton the horse or all kinds of other things that are out there that we want to keep on going. And on the bottom right is one at Buxton, using QR codes that we can put on these signs to change that message as we go through time. So we don't put that on a sculpture or a piece of art on the square or on the county building, but you could go on the website and learn more about that specific time that we're talking about. So whether we're talking about Casey Blake or any kind of history of anything that we want to kind of highlight through. So the next part page is you see the wind sculptures on the light poles there on the right side. So we have the light poles that are going to go along the street there, but create more of a moving sculpture. That's just the concept that they have, not just a banner that sits up there. And banners are wonderful if you use those for a lot of different things, but to have again, have things moving, have art pieces are out there. Doesn't do very good justice there, but that's kind of on the local vine sidewalk. Again, more art along the mural along that building, as I think we've had a lot of murals around the square to begin with and keep adding on to those. But then again, on the sidewalk is trying to connect that from one piece, from one south side to the north side there, of creating some kind of pathway that creates that wonder as you move through from the square to Simpson. And then a couple other ideas that, again, it's probably more pie in the sky or more just because of the expense of it. But like lighted archways and other things that they use in other communities that were just unfortunately big price tag. So as we're looking through this, as we're kind of wanting to get feedback, obviously we've had some community input as we work on developing the grant application for Iowa Great Places here. It's our 3rd year being designated Iowa Great Place. They will donate, or the grant will provide a matching grant of up to 50% of the cost. So again, we're at 40 or so that we've raised so far. As I assume we'll work on maybe asking the city for commitments to that and other fundraising and other events going on. As we do that grant application, will be in September, October this year. And then we have again at least 2 more years to finish the project through Iowa Great Places. So that's a brief synopsis of what I know everybody's probably ready to get moving. So I apologize.
That's really exciting.
It's a great idea. It really is. Who did you say so they surveyed, like, or did the opera and the college and everybody kind of
Yeah,
collaborated
so
first?
I don't miss people that we're talking about. Advisory committee at Simpson College. I know people were there at City of Indianola, the Art Commission, the Des Moines Metro Opera, Balloon Classic, other local businesses. And again, we invited as many people as we could think of and had public information out there back in 2020. Struggles in 2020, but trying to get that moved. So, and then all those meetings were always open to anybody that could survey people. And then we had meetings at the opera, we had meetings at the county building, we had meetings at local vine. Just can't remember all the top of my head everywhere we were at. So other thing is we want to work on with the Arts Commission is have them, if we would adopt the sculpture series, is have them work on identifying and solidifying and getting the group of people that would do that local artwork side of things. Part of that process.
Nice. That would be my only concern. I just think it would be great to have that part of it professionally done. If,
Yep.
and they would maybe
Right.
have some input, like Bob Clean.
Absolutely.
type
Yep.
professional,
Oh yeah, and he's he knows this, he's seen this plan already,
Right,
so.
right,
And
right.
so is the Arts Commission. so.
I like the
Thank you.
building off the energy.
Yeah.
Connect is
Good.
It's a good tie.
I agree.
And there's always all possibilities this can connect way beyond that.
Right,
Right.
right.
And you're thinking like the wind sculptures, that would be not on the square. We do the banners on the square still, but sculptures would be along the way.
Those would be light poles that are north of the square.
Okay,
So
like
I'd say
you said, to
Caneros,
create movement,
Exploit,
yeah.
and that
Okay.
county.
Not to mention, it just, it adds to the gateway of the square. I mean, I think this is a great idea. Hopefully it'll
Buxton
lead
Park
to
is-
others, but.
Well, and
I
maybe
was gonna
it'll
say
help.
Buxton Park's such a special place. It's nice to
Eventually-
draw things
yeah,
that direction.
Keep on
so.
going eventually that direction too.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about toning down all the time, obviously in bigger ways, but even just that is a start.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
Good,
Thanks,
thank
Doug.
you.
Work at Hometown Pride. All right, so now it's officially done. We don't-
No,
we don't
you're-
do a-
no.
Nope, all right, we're all done. Thank you. Thanks, Doug, so much. You were the, like the quietest speaker ever.